right. Let's see. Looks like people are starting to log in. So we'll give them just a second to get logged in, and then we'll go ahead and get started. Jason, you can go ahead and put your presentation up if you like and put it into presentation mode while I introduce everybody. All right.
Are we good there?
We are good. That's perfect. And I'm going to shut down my Outlook so that I don't have any noises in the background. Okay. All right. Well, let's go ahead and get started. Good morning, everybody, or good afternoon, depending on if you're on the East Coast. My name is Emma Jane. I'm with Shin Consulting and Builder Partnerships. I am going to be moderating our webinar today with Wade Big and Jason Sparger. Today, we're going to be talking about polymer trim and siding solutions. So we've got a lot of great stuff to talk about today. I want to thank you all for joining us. If you have a couple quick details that I want to go over before we get started, is the volume really low? Jason, you might need to turn up the volume on your computer. I don't know. We haven't had any volume issues here. Jeremy, okay, so if you have questions, we're going to reserve all the questions till the very end of the webinar today. So you can use that Q&A chat bubble at the bottom to ask your questions, or you can direct questions directly to me through the chat function if you have issues with the Zoom product today. So Jeremy, I'll see if you can contact me through chat and tell me if you have any more issues. But with that, I'm going to go ahead and transfer it over to Wade to introduce himself, and then we'll go over to Jason.
Good morning, everybody. Wade Vig with AZEK Building Products. I'm with the National Accounts team. I work specifically with builders. Been with the company about 8 years, well, close to 9 now. We're a full service building materials company. I think if you don't know who we are, I'll just give you a quick rundown. We do decking, railing, trim, molding, siding, some cases pavers, basically a composite paver, if you will. Today we're going to be talking specifically on exteriors. Jason Sparger is going to be our speaker today, and I'm going to let him give you a bit of a bio, and then he can start his presentation. But thank you all for joining us this morning, and hope you get a lot out of this. And please, by all means, send in your questions, and we can get most of those answered to the best of our ability. Thank you, and Jason, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Wade. Again, my name is Jason Sparger. I'm the divisional sales manager for our exteriors division, covering the whole South and the whole West, so the majority of the country. Fortunate enough to be out in Boise today, where the weather is absolutely beautiful, and I'm living in North Carolina. I've been with the company now about 10 years. Was originally on the all outdoors side, and then came over to the exterior side about 4 years ago, just focusing solely on trim and siding. So with that, we'll get into where we've been, where we're going, some solution-based systems that we've came up with over the years. So our trim and moldings, we have our classic trim, which was our flagship product, our white PVC trim board. Couple of things that we've done different with that is we've applied a protective film to it. This was direct feedback from contractors saying, hey, I want this board to remain white and stay white throughout the process of the construction job. So now they can install the board and pull the protective film off, and they have a nice, clean, white substrate. We introduced our Paint Pro technology about 3 years ago. That's our same substrate, our PVC trim board, but it's engineered to be painted. We have all of our molding profiles, our crowns and seals, and all of our different moldings there. We'll get into our Jobsite application solution today, so we'll do a little bit more of a deeper dive. We'll get into a little bit of fasteners, some adhesives. We'll do another dive on our shingle siding with our Paint Pro technology. So why did we come up with Paint Pro trim? What we found was the majority of the PVC trim that was sold in the marketplace that we engineered to be white and stay white forever was being painted. The number one color it was being painted was white. So we said, okay, if it's engineered to be white and people are painting it, let's give them a different option. So we came up with our Paint Pro trim board. As you'll see, this is a kind of a pie chart, a graph on where PVC trim is getting painted across the US. We found that 40% of it was being painted. So when do we want to use the Paint Pro technology, and what do we do and why do we do it? So if you've ever painted our standard white trim, the waxes and those things that come through the manufacturing process make it a little bit more difficult to paint. Although you can paint it, it makes it a little more difficult. So think of putting water on a wax car. The paint tends to separate, because of those waxes and oils that are on the board due to the manufacturing process. What we've done is we eliminated the white in the board, which is the TiO2, and we decreased the surface tension on this board. So now when you apply the paint covers the board equally across, so it doesn't separate like it does on a wax car. The other problem with painting PVC is dry times. Because it's impervious to moisture and there's no absorption rate to PVC, you got to literally wait for that paint to evaporate. But when it does, it forms a molecular bond to the substrate, which is 5 to 8 times longer than any other substrate, but it takes a long time to cure. So with our Paint Pro technology, after you paint it, it's touch within about 15 minutes and is fully curable within a day. We introduced this in our standard flat stock, so our 5/4 and 4/4 boards. We made them 4 through 10. We just introduced a 16-inch board. We also came out with our 3/4 sheets, 4x8 and 4x10. A couple things that we came out with this year is we introduced a 1/2-inch sheet and a 4x8, 4x10, and a 4x12, along with our 4/4x2 and 4/4x3 batten strips. They're going to allow you to achieve that board and batten look, as you see in the center of the screen here. Another thing when we talk about PVC, so the two things that you hear about PVC is you can't paint it and it expands and contracts. And we're going to dispel all those myths today. So you can absolutely paint PVC. You can paint our white PVC and you can paint our Paint Pro. When you hear painting requirements, people go, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do with this. But here's what we say. Any LRV of 55 and above, you can use any acrylic latex paint. If you go below that 55, we want you to use a vinyl safe paint. And if you want to paint it black or a chocolate brown, we want you to use a solar reflective paint. So like I said, the 100% acrylic latex on an LRV of 55 and above. After that, go with a vinyl safe paint. Sherwin-Williams has over 95 colors in their color palette of vinyl safe paints. Benjamin Moore has over 300 colors. Let's say you have a color that's not in their vinyl safe palette. They can absolutely formulate that color into a vinyl safe paint. They just remove the blacks and replace it with magentas and those types of things to achieve the same color. So what is LRV and what does all that mean? So LRV stands for light reflective value. So 0 is black, 100 is white. So if you stay within that mid-range all the way to white, which is the majority of your trim colors, you can use any acrylic latex paint. Where do you find the LRV? It's on the back of every swatch at every paint manufacturer known to man. So if you see on the top right, that's an LRV of 58. You can use an acrylic latex paint on that. If you go to the bottom slide, you see that's an 11.1. We want that to be formulated in a vinyl safe paint. Here's some examples of Sherwin-Williams vinyl safe paint colors that they already have formulated. So you can say, I want SWVS 309, that's bleached clay, and that's already formulated in a vinyl safe paint. So why is painting PVC important, and why does paint fail on products? Paint fails because there's moisture content in a board, and that moisture content is trying to fight its way to ambient temperature. So although you paint the board for protection from the outside in, there's a moisture content trying to fight its way out. With AZEK and PVC trim, there's no moisture content inside that board. So you'll see this is a hatch test that's done. It's an ATSM process. It's not something we just do in our own factory. So we paint these boards, they go across on a hatch, and then they apply adhesive over it and they pull it off. So you can see with fiber cements, polyashes, wood composites, because that moisture content in the board, you don't have that great paint adhesion like you would with a PVC. When you paint this PVC, it's going to form a molecular bond, so it becomes part of that board. The other thing that we hear on PVC is expansion and contraction. I tell people everything expands and contracts. Wood expands and contracts, fiber cement, fly ash, things either expand and contract with moisture or they expand and contract thermally. PVC expands and contracts thermally. However, we can control the expansion and contraction. So in an 18-foot piece, we want to allow 1/8 of an inch for expansion and contraction. We can drastically minimize that by fastening patterns and by using scarf joints. So if you have a long run, we want you to 45 that, put some adhesive in it. Now that becomes one board that we have no expansion contraction. Like I said, we always want to use scarf joints. We want to use adhesive when joining two boards together. We're not relying on the adhesive to hold the boards together. That adhesive actually melts the two pieces of PVC together and forms them as one and welds them together. So why PVC and why does it make sense on remodels, resides, new construction? It's all the silver bullets that we talk about. So it's resistant to moisture. You can go to ground contact. You can go to masonry contact. You don't have to have ugly roof requirements. The workability, you don't need a $100 saw blade to cut it. You can go to Harbor Freight and get a $5 blade. You don't have the HEPA-vacs. You don't have the carcinogens that you're breathing in. Fewer installation restrictions. You don't have to pre-drill, efficient fastening. So using standard woodworking tools, using standard nails, fasteners, those types of things are very important in the speed of installation and the longevity of the product. So it's going to look and feel like wood. It's not going to split or splinter. There's no organic material in it, so it's resistant to mold or mildew. No specialty tools, no need to paint the end cuts for protection. The huge time savers on the job for the installers. So after you cut a standard substrate, you got to go back and you now have to paint that or seal that for protection. With AZEK PVC, you do not. And we're backed by a lifetime warranty on all of our trim boards. This is a test I always like to bring up. So it's a wet sponge test. We take our boards, we lay them on top of a wet sponge, we paint the boards for protection. And now you see that moisture inside from the back side of the product fighting its way to the top. So you get those tannings and those organic materials fighting their way to the top, which is going to create a maintenance issue down the road for the homeowner. With AZEK PVC, there's no absorption rate. So you don't see that water wicking up, and there's no need to paint that for protection. Staying with our Paint Pro PVC, we introduced 2 years ago our shingle siding. This was a huge win for us, as well as dealer yards, as well as installers. So installers are saying, hey, we don't want something that's very heavy. We don't want something that we have to allow 10 to 15% for breakage and told that's okay. We want something that's lightweight, easy to move around the job site. It's not going to break, it's not going to chip, and we don't need specialty tools to work with. But we have to have it, readily available and easy to paint. So we came up with our Paint Pro technology in our shingle siding. You can see it's a 48-inch panel. We have it in a 7-inch reveal, a 5-inch straight reveal, and a 6-inch staggered reveal. A couple of things that we did different in this panel is we did open keyway, so it's got a true cut keyway all the way through, and it has a varying keyway. So that varying keyway gives an authentic shingle siding look when put up on the wall. And it also allows you to not be able to tell where one panel starts and stops. Because of that varying keyway, you can be a little errant on where that panel starts and stops, and you can't pick it out from the road. Like I said, we have our straight edge, our staggered edge, same benefits as our PVC trim. So it's going to be easy to install, easier to maintain. Paint's going to adhere to it better. It's going to last longer on it. It's going to be moisture resistant. You can go straight to your shingles. You can go straight to your grade, and there's no need to prime it or prep it because it is our Paint Pro technology. Talk about job site efficiency. If you look at the bottom middle, there's a girl on the job site carrying half a square. I would challenge most people, even myself, and I consider myself a big guy, to pick up, a half a bundle of any other product that's out there and carry it around the job site. So typically when a dealer drops off your shingles, they're going to put it on the front lawn. Well, let's say you have a gable on the left wall, a gable on the right wall, and the back's getting an accent. So now we're picking up fiber cement or whatever, we're carrying it around the job. We're worried about breakage, we're being heavy. So if you can pick up 25 pieces and carry it around the job site rather than pick up 3 pieces, you're saving time on the job site. Back one. So this is all the beauty of real wood without the maintenance. So the picture on the right, that's our AZEK shingle compared to an individual cedar shake, just individual panelized pieces. So you can see the true cut keyways, the deep shadow lines, those types of things give it a real authentic look on the wall compared to your standard cedar shingles. You're going to start this with a starter strip, turn your first piece upside down because of that true cut keyway. We don't want to see house wrap behind it. And here's your, it's very simple. This is your pattern going all the way up the wall. You're going to have a full piece, 48 inches, step back 32, step back 16. So you're stepping back one stud all the way. And then your fourth piece going up is going to be another full piece, 48-inch piece. When you get to a penetration in the wall, be a window, be it a door, you're still going to continue with that 48, 32, 16. You're going to act like that that penetration's not there. What that's going to do is that's going to ensure that you have a tab over each keyway, so you don't have two keyways lined up on top of each other. This past year, we introduced our board and batten, like I talked about in our Paint Pro technology. This is going to be our half-inch sheets. So it's going to be 4x8, 4x10, as well as 4x12, which is going to eliminate seams on the job. It's going to allow you to go higher in your gable ends without having to have a band board. This is all Paint Pro technology, so readily available, easy to paint, dry times and cure times, and it's going to last longer on the wall. Here you can see this one was painted with a very dark color. This is a solar reflective paint. It was painted in 80 to 95 degree ambient temperatures, so we're not worried about that expansion and contraction in there. We're fastening close to the edge, so you don't get that expansion and contraction when meeting up with that band board at the top of the cable. Just some other examples of some board and batten jobs that were done this year. Now we're going to get into our job site solutions. So these are the products that I say are the aha, products that we offer to the marketplace that make sense for the builder, the homeowner, the installer. So we introduced our J casing series as well as our quick corners about 5-6 years ago. What we thought was it was going to go with a high-end vinyl siding. We kind of missed the mark on that because vinyl was dying in a lot of markets, and people weren't willing to pay the price for a great trim around a vinyl siding. Where we did find that this plays well is with pre-finished hardboards. So your color pluses, your diamond coats, those types of things. Why this works well with them is you can take a great job of hanging your siding, and the guy that caulks it makes it look terrible. There's very few guys that do a great job caulking and caulk it properly. We know that the people that manufacture caulk are not the same manufacturers of the siding. So you're going to get a weatherability that you're going to be able to tell where that caulk's at compared to the siding. We know that caulk's going to break down over time. And I tell people, if you had a hole in your roof and you told a homeowner you were going to put a dab of caulk in it to secure their home, they would probably look at you like you had 3 heads. So when people think of caulk, they think of those things. They think of bad things. So we introduced this. This is our no caulk campaign. So our quick corners, our inside corners, our J casing, this eliminates a trade on the job. This makes extremely efficient fastening. So our outside corners, they're going to be 20 foot tall. They're going to have a nail flange on the side that's going to be shot up with a pneumatic nailer. It's going to be seamless, so you're not marrying two pieces together, so you don't have a raw edge. It's going to be uniform, so both sides are the exact same. And there's no need to go back and touch up the face fastening that's going to be done. So if you were doing a fiber cement, a fly ash, a hardboard, you're going to fasten that through the face and now have to go back and touch up the nail holes. With this, you don't. So you set it and forget it, but somebody else coined that phrase before me. So you literally cut this, nail it up with a pneumatic fastener, start running your siding into it. Now you've eliminated caulk, now you've eliminated face fastening, now you've eliminated touch up, and it's really quick on the job site. Rounding that out, we introduced our inside corner. So now we have a whole house solution for inside corners, outside corners, as well as around your windows and doors. Our inside corners are also going to be 20 foot. Also same as our inside corners, so that's going to eliminate waste, eliminate the need to marry two pieces together, and allow you to do two-story applications. Our J casing, we have it in 5.5, 3.5, as well as our brick mold casing. These are going to be 45 around each window. So it's going to allow you to have that J casing all the way around the window or the door. So no need to come back and caulk that for that application. You look at the middle picture, that's our inside corner compared to the standard way of installing the inside corner. So you have your pre-finished siding going into a standard 5/4 board. Now you have a caulk joint. You have to come back and seal for protection. And then you see our inside corner with the pre-finished fiber cement going into it. So you get a nice, clean, sharp line going down. No need to come back, a couple years later and retouch up the caulk or anything like that. If you look at the building on the left, that's our true no caulk campaign. So they're using our universal skirt board as their starter on the bottom. Our one-piece skirt is our band board, 5.5-inch casing around all the windows, and our one-piece J casing corner all the way down. So that's one corner all the way down. There's no caulk on this oceanfront condominium complex whatsoever that you'd have to come back and touch up or anything like that. Our universal skirt board, as well as our one-piece skirt. Again, these are job site solutions that save time on the job site. So if you had a band board or you had a skirt board, in a typical application, you're going to take a 5/4 by 10 or 12 or whatever you want. You're going to break metal over the top of it. You're going to flash it. Now you got to cut a piece of starter strip and go over the top. Very time consuming. Whereas this is an 18-foot piece. It takes 3 parts and builds it into one. So you have your starter strip, your water management, as well as your band board face. So it's really efficient on the wall. When we first came out with this, we did a test with some installers, and we said, okay, give us 3 of the best installers you got on one side, 3 of the best installers you got on the other side. Do it your way on one side and do it our way on the other side. The aha moment was after 1 hour doing it with our one-piece skirt board, they'd already finished the wall 8 feet up. On the other side, they were still breaking metal and cutting flashing. So for an install standpoint, the installer who's getting paid by the square is installing more squares a day so he can get paid faster. The builder can get the job cladded faster so he can put the house on the market. So it's a win-win for everybody. We have all our molding profiles, our crowns, our sills, our crosshead pediments. These are an absolute must when you're going up, decorative pieces around, rake, gables, those types of things that are going to be, up high. Homeowners aren't going to have a 30-foot ladder to go up and maintain wood or something that's primed that they're going to have to go back and touch up and paint. It makes total sense to put a product up there that's impervious to moisture. It doesn't have to be maintained, year after year. Installing. So you can install all of our trims with a 15-gauge finish nail. Some guys like to use our Cortex fastener. So Cortex fastener is a hidden fastener system. You apply the screw. It has a plug that's cut out of our material. You go back, tap the plug in, and so you have a seamless hidden fastener option. Adhesives, we talked about that earlier. Anytime you have a scarf joint, we want to see adhesive, where it's AZEK to AZEK. We have our nail eraser for filling trim heads. We have our 2-part epoxies and our fast and slow cure, which actually dry to like a Bondo that you can sand and paint. And then we have our fill and flex as well. Our fill and flex is going to caulk out like comes in a caulk tube, so it's going to gun out just like a caulk. The cool thing about this is installing it with our white PVC trim. It has the same amount of TiO2 in it as our white boards do. It's going to weather the same way our white boards will. Our cellular PVC cement that comes in, it used to come in the plumber's dauber, whatever you want to call it, like you see here. We introduced it in Elmer's glue type. So it's a 3/4, just looks just like an Elmer's glue, but has an applicator on the end. Cut it 3/4 and apply that. The thing about our adhesive compared to a standard adhesive is it is water soluble. So if you get squeeze out, it's not going to turn yellow over time, and you can clean it up with a wet rag. As far as marketing support goes, within the AZEK, I always refer people to BIM Smith. You can get to BIM Smith from directly on their website, or you can get there from azek.com. The thing about BIM Smith is it is a Revit software. So it has all of our CAD drawings, all our 3-part specs, all of our technical documents. Everything is hosted on that website. So you can click it and drag it into plans, and then it lives there on your plans. Or if you have a customer call and say, what's the dimensions, inside dimensions of your 6x6 post sleeve? it's going to be on there. It's going to show you the inside dimensions, all the CAD drawings and everything's on there for you to review. And that is all I have. I wanted to keep it short and sweet and not make you drink out of a fire hose. So with that, I will open it up to questions and answers.
Excellent. Thank you, Jason. We do have a smaller group today, so what I can do is I can offer to allow you to ask your questions live. So if you want to raise your hand, I can let you answer your question live if you want to do that. You must have done an amazing job, Jason. We don't have any questions so far. I really enjoyed your presentation. I'm getting ready to paint my house. It's a wood house, and I'm like, oh, should I have just redone all the siding? I have Jason. Oh, Jason wants to ask, or Jeff wants to ask a question. I'm going to go ahead and allow him to talk. Go ahead, Jeff. You just go ahead and unmute yourself, and you can ask your question.
There we go. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes.
we can hear you.
What about installation over foam?
So I get asked that question. Where are you located at?
Northern Colorado.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So you can absolutely go over foam. What we want is we want you to penetrate the substrate. So shooting into a framing member, we want that to penetrate by 2 1/4. So you just have to use a longer fastener.
Okay. A second question on this, on the J system, and it being designed to be a no caulk system, and looking at the photographs you were showing of that condo complex, and the lap siding, I see water penetration issues. Are you relying on the building wrap to provide the waterproofing behind the siding in that situation? I just see an easy way for water to infiltrate those corners.
So we have a flange that comes off of those corners that acts as a flashing. So when your siding tucks in behind into that J casing, our flashing piece comes out enough that you don't have that water infiltration running down.
Okay, and that overlap looks to be a couple inches.
Yes.
All right. And no issues so far on water infiltration. I could just see high winds and rains forcing water behind there. Just
No, I mean, look, I mean, through our testing and everything, we had to get Florida building approval, which is extremely difficult to get with the hurricanes and all. So it passed all Florida building approval. So that's kind of the gold standard, I think. So we passed all that with flying colors. So I don't see any issues with driving range or anything.
Right. Does that J channel come in different depths as far as the depth of the channel, not the width of the channel, but the depth? So if I was using sheet goods, does it come with a channel that would match that profile of the sheet goods, like a half-inch channel?
No, it's the same. No, sir.
Same. And how big is that gap?
3/4.
3/4. Okay. All right. Yeah, those are the only questions I had.
Awesome.
Thank you,
Thanks.
Jeff.
Emma, early on, you had stated that there were a few questions that came in before the webinar.
Yes.
Did you want to read those off and maybe let Jason answer those?
One was going against masonry. And we can absolutely go against masonry. So there's a lot of applications where you have, front sides brick, sides of the house or fiber cement or whatever. And so you have to have that flashing piece because fiber cement and other products can't touch masonry because they wick moisture, because masonry is porous, right? Because we're impervious to moisture, you can go direct to masonry contact, direct to concrete, and direct to grade. So that was one of the questions that came in earlier to Emma. The other question was, what are we seeing as far as manufacturing constraints? I will say we positioned ourselves very well. We took a chance and rolled the dice early on and said, okay, and we went to all of our customers and said, what's the most important thing to you? Is it, the allocation? Is it pricing? Is it what is it? What makes us tick and what makes us stand apart from our competition? They said, we really don't care as long as we can get material. We don't want to have extended lead times. That can kill a product really quickly. So we rolled the dice and went all in pre-COVID and continued throughout COVID. So we have no manufacturing constraints. We're the same lead times that we were before COVID. So typically on the East Coast, we're 2 to 3 weeks, and on the West Coast, we're 4 to 6 weeks.
Excellent. That's great news. Thank you, Jason. I do have another question from Alex, and he wants to know, for unfinished B&B sheets goods, what is your recommendation for water drainage behind the sheets? Cedar, breather, waterproofing membrane, etc.
So if you look at our installation guides, we don't call out a specific brand or type. There's some people doing fluid applied. There's some people doing drain wraps, or some people just doing house wraps. So for those applications behind it, we don't really call out a specific. More different ones are prevalent in different parts of the country. So we allow that to be up to you as far as the drain system or the permeability behind that as far as waterproofing.
All right, thank you. So we still have a few people left on here. Does anybody else have any other questions? Oh, we do have one more question. Jeff, go ahead.
Yeah, one more question regarding materials cost. You've laid out labor savings. That's obvious. If you're comparing, let's just use hardy board as a baseline. Cost per square foot comparison percentage wise, where are you at?
Are you talking like lap, plank, or just trim?
Let's just say let's just call a board and bat job. Yeah, which is the least amount of materials. Your average ranch house, nothing fancy. Just say a production house, board and bat. Where are you at materials wise? Ballpark.
25 to 30.
25 to 30%.
Mm-hmm.
But it's product. I mean, I'll speak for you. It's product with a lifetime warranty, and you save a lot on labor.
Correct.
Yeah, and I don't want to haul an 18-foot or hell, even a 4x8 sheet of hardy board.
Right. If you're in Colorado, the situation with fiber cement trim right now, and
yeah,
we were talking. I mean, we're all over the place talking with people, and they're like, you're on a whole house, you're like $200 more than fiber cement. And I went, well, fiber cement's not here anymore, so that's not the baseline. Like, we got to come up with a new baseline, and this is your new baseline, right? So if you can't sell $200 to $300 per house difference with the benefits that the homeowner's getting of paint adhesion, those types of things, then we're all in the wrong business, right?
Yeah. Okay, well, that brings up another one regarding labor. The paint tech technology. I'm not trying to take over the meeting here, but
no, you're good. I love it.
Yeah, you're doing good.
On the paint tech,
Paint Pro.
Paint Pro. Sorry. Okay.
You're good.
Paint Pro. What are the priming requirements?
No, there are no priming requirements. So it is
Oh, really?
engineered. It is engineered to be painting. So we don't rely on, there's other products out there that they're a substrate and then they require a primer on top, or they come primed. We found that those primers can be inconsistent when done in a factory or done through a third party. So we run ours through what's called a dime process. It's a proprietary process that we came out with. In layman's terms, it basically wire sands, wire brushes all the way around and then reseals it. So there's no paint primer requirements. It is engineered to be painted. Yesterday we were sitting in Franklin, and I painted a board, and the guy said, "Oh my God, I can't." And this was a painter. He's like, "I've never painted PVC before because it paints terrible." And he said, "And this is already dry." It's 15 minutes later. I was like, "Exactly." He said, "We didn't have to prime this." And I went, "No." And now it becomes part of the board. It forms that molecular bond to it. So there's no priming requirements. As soon as it's installed, it's ready to be painted.
Right.
That's
So
where
those-
shingles,
right.
tile,
And that Paint Pro's been out for a couple of years now, right?
Well, we've had Paint Pro out for about 6 years.
Okay.
We did, test markets here, there, different climates. The only, and it's not a problem, but I'll get to you because of where you're at. And then we introduced it nationwide about 3 years ago. The
Okay.
only problem I've ever had was in Aspen. We did about a $300,000 job in Aspen. And it was because of the altitude, it was a problem with the paint. So it was all because of the altitude, and I didn't know that altitude affected paint, right? I'm an old boy from North Carolina, and then when the painters came in, they said, this is the problem, it's because of the altitude. So they reformulated their paint, and then it wasn't a problem.
Huh, interesting.
But altitude affects paint.
Yeah, it does. I'm building at 7,000 feet.
Mhm.
I'm researching this for a one-off build, owner build, me.
Mhm.
And yeah, I'm at about 7,000 feet, and we can see 100 degrees and 30 degrees in an 18-hour
Oh, yeah.
period.
Right.
In 147-mile-an-hour wind zone.
Mhm.
So I'm looking for something solid and lifetime.
I'm your guy. I'll be in Colorado. I'll be in Colorado tonight. I'll be there till Friday.
Have a good time. And then dealer networks are on your website.
Yeah, so you can purchase it from any dealer. Any dealer buys through our distribution. Distribution is Weyerhaeuser, Wyco, Wausau, Snavely, Huttig. So all of our distribution partners have those. They distribute it to your BFSs, your Lansings, your whoever.
Okay.
What dealer are you working with, Jeff, right now? for your
Builders First Source is my lumberyard.
Yeah, you'll be good.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
We
I'm
got a
actually
great.
sitting outside of BFS right now at this very minute.
All right. And you're 6 to 8 weeks in Colorado in the West?
No,
They-
no. So that's from factory to there. So all of our distribution has this readily available and in stock. So it's next
Oh.
day.
Oh, okay. Fantastic.
Yeah,
Great.
there may be a profile or two, Jeff, depending on what you're looking for. Like with any product you order, not everything's on the ground, but we've made a pretty solid argument with distribution as to what our plan is in the Rockies and what we're trying to do. And so they've beefed up inventory pretty heavily, but there will probably be, there's some of those molding profiles that aren't really, just blowing out the door. So, be cautious and understand that there may be some lead times and some constraints as well, because we do hold distribution to a certain level of ordering. They can't just order 4 sticks because Jeff needs 4 sticks. It'll be, more like, hey, you need to order a unit and Jeff only needs 4 sticks. So now what are you going to do with the rest of the unit? So there'll be some areas where that might be of concern to you, but
Right.
But it's so few and far between.
Yes.
On a colonial no seal or something like that is the only time you ever see something like that. As far as your standard, 5/4, 4/4, all your cheap good, those types of things are readily available and in stock.
Yeah, flat stocks all there. Yep.
Yeah. My details are pretty streamlined and simple, so I don't
Perfect.
see that issue.
Cool.
Yeah. Thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate it.
Thanks a lot, Jeff.
Yep.
Thank you so much, Jeff. It's been a fun back and forth with you today. It looks like we have answered all the questions. I want to thank Jason and Wade so much for joining us today. It was very informational, great products, and it sounds like it's great for all across the country. So if you need anything, Wade and Jason are available. Tomorrow you'll be getting an email from us that will give you their email information so you can contact them directly if you have questions. But once again, I want to thank you for attending Webinar Wednesday. We're so happy to have you back for the fall season, and we look forward to seeing you soon. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Emma.
Yeah, thank you, Emma. Thank you all
Thank
for
you.
joining.